I'm a writer. I write hockey romances. I write gay hockey romances.
Ooh,
I'm
my
a
life.
right. If only it was true. I'm a Avs fan. Go Avs. Wearing my Eagles jersey to represent.
Nice.
Used to have season tickets for them before I moved to Oregon.
Well, how did you get into hockey?
Actually through the writing. Well, I'm to go back way far. I was born on Long Island, lived there my whole life till I was about 25. So that 80 to 84 Islanders
Mhm.
thing, my dad was huge into it. Actually, I have a scrapbook still that I made from all the games, and it was that Miracle on Ice,
Yeah.
1980. So I was like 14, I think, when that happened. So it was like really popular, and I loved the Islanders at the time. And but then like graduated high school, went to college, life got in the way. Married somebody who didn't like hockey, so I didn't watch it. And then when I started writing again, I took a poll. I asked my readers what they wanted to read. I want to write a sports romance. What sports? If I did that, what would you like? And it was hockey by a landslide.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, I don't really know so much. I don't know enough about hockey to write it well. I said I could do football, but I don't know hockey. So there's another writer, Marie Sexton, who I actually in real life lived in the same town as me. We were friends. She's a huge hockey fan. She doesn't write any hockey, but she's a huge fan in real life. So she's like, I'll take you to the games. And like 2 games in, I was hooked and I bought season tickets because we live right down the street from the arena, which was ECHL at the time. The Eagles were
Yeah.
ECHL, so the season tickets were affordable. The games were fun. The fans were fun. And then the more research I did into it, I actually liked it more. I think I've read like the entry level contract and the players contracts more than some of the players have because I don't want to get the details wrong. People get mad, right?
Yeah.
And it's really complicated. But I think once anybody goes to a game in person, then you're like hooked. You
Well,
know,
what do you love about it?
I like the skill, it's really hard. And I like how fast the games are. I like that it doesn't stop. I like that they change on the fly. I like that defenders can score.
Yeah.
I like the whole just the whole setup of it. Plus it's fun to watch. I actually am not a huge fan of people getting hurt, so not a huge fan of the fighting. Um, but I just like the skill and the speed and the excitement of the crowd.
That's
And
cool.
yeah, it's just it's interesting. It takes your mind off of, the real world for
Yeah.
2.5 hours too, right? You just get to get really into it. And it's fun to have something to do.
No, absolutely. How could hockey be better for you as an individual and also for the queer community?
Yeah. Well, it would be nice to feel like the inclusion, the hockey is for everyone and everyone can play wasn't just lip service,
Oh, I
once a month.
know.
Nice. Yeah. Um, they don't like they don't really say a lot. Hockey's not a sport where people are going to take a stand, right? The athletes or the clubs or the owners or anything, and it's a white rich sport, right? Which is actually why it's popular with romance readers, truthfully.
Interesting.
Which is something I try not to say when people ask and think like, why do you think people like hockey? I'm like, because it's the whitest sport in America, you know, and the guys are kind of good looking, agree with that, and but they're white, they're upper middle class, they have great dental, so they have great smiles because of the thing. But yeah, but yeah, if they would just, you know, like the Avs last year, were they got a lot of pushback, right? Focusing on the allies, it felt like more. Remember?
Well, that's what the NHL did this year. So,
Yeah, and they really need to recognize how large of a queer fan base they have because it's a lot. I've met a lot of people. I've seen people get engaged at the games. People who and I don't think it's particularly individual on the players, especially given how the ages, right? They're
yes.
young. So they grew up in this generation like my kids. They're my kids' age. So it feels like they're just too timid to say anything as a league.
Yeah, it's almost as if they fear losing that subsect of fan base who is bigoted,
Yeah.
and as a result, they're alienating a lot more.
Yeah,
And
because I don't think their base that's big it is as big as they think it is.
also, I think, you lose 3% of your fandom, but gain an additional 10 to 15%. That's a huge gain.
Right, exactly. Because a lot of people who are the ones, whenever they have a post on Facebook or Twitter, there's always comments, right? And overwhelmingly, when I read them, the comments are supportive because I'm really
Yeah.
curious. I want to see what the fan base is thinking, because most of my audience, truthfully, is straight women,
Yeah.
for my readers. And they don't really seem to care. And the ones that are vocal about it, like you said, it's a low percentage. They're not going to leave anyway. Most of them aren't going to stop going, especially season ticket holders. So I think,
Completely.
yeah, I think that they're doing a disservice, and they're doing a disservice for themselves because of the way that any potential players get weeded out, right? As you well know,
Oh, I know it
in
all
the
too
younger
well.
ages, from, I mean, all the scandals and just all the casual homophobia and language that gets allowed, and then kids get scared. So they
Yeah.
are losing out on potential talent as a
and
league.
and these kids come to me and they're struggling
Right.
psychologically, emotionally, and it's due to that language. It's due to those issues that they refuse to acknowledge exist, and it's really sad.
Yeah, it's really sad. I mean, I think NHL is the one league that hasn't had any even ex players come out.
I'm the only player in North America who's played professionally to come out as gay,
Yeah, that's what I thought. Like other, even
on the
football,
men's side, on the men's
on
side
the
of the
men's side.
sport.
Yeah,
Yeah.
interesting. The women are so more opening, right?
Yeah.
They don't care. I guess they have to fight against the stereotype that they are gay. All the players.
Completely. There's opposite, and I think it's due to the hypermasculinity of hockey culture that leads the perception to be that if you play the sport, you are manly,
Right.
and that's, that you're this masculine being, and that's bullshit.
And
um
as if the masculine only has one definition, right? And
yeah,
the heterosexual
exactly.
is like conflated with that. That's that's not
Yeah, it's
necessary.
like it's a very rigid binary stereotype, right? And
Yeah.
it's not real. Knowing all this, what keeps you in hockey?
It's just so much fun. It's just so much fun to watch and to be a part of the fandom. It's not something that I grew up with particularly, like watching sports a lot, except for that brief minute. My dad liked football, but it wasn't the same. It
Yeah.
gives me something to do that isn't making money actually, because I stopped writing the hockey for a while. So it's just fun. You know, there's not a lot of things that I do in a group. It's like playing video games in real life, I guess, right?
Yeah. Yeah. No,
The
it's really
sport, the
cool.
sport is still fun. I don't hold the sport against itself.
The sport's beautiful.
Yeah. I wish I could do it. I can't even ice skate.
Oh, you could learn.
I don't know about that. I broke
Oh,
my
for sure.
wrist walking, so
Oh
I'm not.
no.
But yeah, but it's super fun, and I love to watch it. I do watch the women's hockey. It's harder to find.
Yes.
You know, I think it was on Twitch for a while, right? They were
Hmm.
streaming on Twitch. You know, so I do watch that. And I try to watch the college stuff.
Cool.
Everybody needs a hobby, right? Yeah.
Completely. I love it.
And look at my abs. Look how fun they are to watch. Those
Yeah,
abs.
that the way they play is really exciting.
Yeah, and now I'm in Oregon, so I'm hoping to get up to Seattle to see some Kraken games.
And they seem really cool and inclusive, so that'd be great.
Yeah, well, it's interesting starting up. Let's see what happens.
Yeah.
I'm more curious who they're going to get.
What gives you hope for queer people in the sport?
The, stuff like this, like you particularly, there's loud voices now, and it's as it gets more mainstream. Well, I mean, it is mainstream, right?
In
So they're
society,
gonna have
yes.
to, and I think, again, like I said, the kids coming up, you've got kids that are coming out in high school,
Yeah.
right? That doesn't go away when they grow up, and even Shattuck or whatever, there's gay kids there that are gonna come out in high school. They're not gonna be able to weed everybody out, even informally, you know,
Yeah.
because it's too hard to hide them.
I've noticed, even doing this project, like the amount of people and how strong the community is. And that to me
Tight.
is so powerful.
Yeah, I think it's a tight community too. You know, I'm on Twitter, obviously hockey Twitter, which
Yeah.
I like to follow. There's so I follow all these women, you know, there's amazing women there. And you know, we have money. You think they would see how quickly the pride stuff sells out too, that they would, you know, at least go for those rainbow dollars
Well,
and start expanding, you
I,
know.
I almost wonder if we have to stop spending our money there
Yeah,
until they actually do things that aren't performative, and you know, because we're giving them money without any tangible
I know.
action.
The same thing with the Black Lives Matter stuff,
Completely.
you know, yeah, because again, hockey's so white, right?
Yeah.
Look at all the comments Kadri gets or anybody gets, you know, and the women. But yeah, but I don't know until these old rich white men who own the clubs die. I do. Maybe there's staff coming in too. Maybe it'll be from that end.
I don't know, because the culture is so insular that I think younger people coming up are influenced by coaches and management and owners of higher levels of the sport, and
Mhm.
there's a trickle down effect which keeps the sport so insular, so white, so
So,
straight perceived.
yeah.
And until we, like, you know, shift that completely, I don't know. I don't
Again,
know what the answer
how
is.
does that get shifted? I'm not an athlete. I never have been. So I
So
don't know what that culture is like for the kids, you know?
yeah, to me it happens. It's got to be a two-tier system, almost a three-tier system, where you have a bottom-up model where you're humanizing issues for youth and for
Mhm.
youth coaches, following that up with education. And you start at the bottom and work up, but simultaneously you start at the top and work down. And you do the same thing, but at the top level, you do it for owners and front offices, players, coaches, season ticket holders, and also have them come into the minor hockey with you. And then
What
as those, like the teams, and as those things kind of meet in the middle, be major, junior, NCAA, at that point you really target those kids because they have access and influence youth because
right.
they're accessible, right? They're almost like YouTubers or Instagram
Yeah,
influencers,
yeah.
but they're also influenced by the top because they go to training camps and train in the summer with
And
the NHL players. So I think it's almost like a three-tier model with a
yeah.
ton of emphasis in the middle.
But do you think it's the overwhelming United States presence that makes it harder too? Because I know some of the, obviously not the Russian country, but like Canada, they don't care as much.
It's actually the opposite.
Yeah,
A study came out recently out of Australia, and they compared youth sport in 6 or 8 different countries, and Canada actually had the most homophobia.
really.
I think because and hockey is our most prominent sport,
Right.
so it's a hockey issue, and I think a lot of that stems from the fact that you have these middle to upper class white cisgender kids who are most sports growing up are played in schools, whereas hockey is played, it's isolated off to the side. You don't have a teacher, you don't have the boys teams and the girls teams in the same facility all the time. You're broken up by age, and you spend 6 to 7 nights a week together,
Okay.
and you're influenced by a coach who grew up in this culture and reiterates and reinforces these bad habits and behaviors. So, and then because everyone's assumed to be straight and 98% are white and all these things, they can get away with sexist, homophobic, and racist comments without um, overtly offending somebody in the room.
Right.
So
And
then it
squashing
leads to
any
be,
potential, like some 11-year-old is not going to stand up to his coach and say, I'm offended because I think I might be gay, you know?
well, one kid who was straight did it in Arizona recently. He's 13 years old, and then he got his goalie mask painted. And one side he has me, and the other side he has Grant Fuhr.
That is
And
awesome.
and he stood up to the coach because he told the coach about racist, sexist, and homophobic language, and the coach didn't do anything about it.
Mhm.
And he stood up to him. The coach benched him for the rest of the season.
How do they get away with that? Like, how did they?
Power and control. And to me, it's almost as if the people running each association have their own skeletons that they don't want to come out.
Yeah.
So it's easier to cover up everyone else's,
So,
sadly.
good for that kid's parents, man. You must have some good parents
Oh, there's
too.
wonderful parents. I
Yeah.
I engaged with parents from all over the globe, and they're phenomenal.
It's fascinating to me when I was doing more research for a book that figure skating is also fairly homophobic,
Oh,
like more
very.
than I would have thought. Yeah, like
Yeah.
a lot.
Yeah, I've talked to some queer folks in the sport, and because it's a judge sport and there's homophobic countries
True.
involved, they hold it against skaters when
Yeah,
they come out
I'm
in
sure they
in their
do.
in their marks and their, their scores. So it's really sad. But we still have a long way to go, and this is, hopefully we can hit a little dent in it with this and continue to influence and change.
Yeah, I really want them to know that a huge percentage of their fans don't identify as straight, and it hurts us. It like physically makes it hard for us to go to the games when they do stuff like that. And when they, don't when they pay lip service to important things like the Black Lives Matter movement and pride when it's obviously not. And if this is the age of the internet, we can find anything you've said, any things that owners have said, any causes they've contributed to that are against what they say. We know what you do, and it does make it hard, and it's sad to be driven away from a sport even as a fan because you feel like you're endorsing this homophobic stance.
Yeah,
And
no,
it's,
completely.
yeah. um,
Amy, I want to thank you so much.
no problem. Thanks for giving me a chance, and thanks. Keep your voice loud on Twitter.
Oh, I
A lot
will.
of us are paying attention, so
Well, thank you.